What up, people? Push Wild Black here with Push Wild Black Sports. I'm going to try to knock this out as quick as I can, although knowing me, it probably won't be as quick. Okay, the NBA draft happened Thursday. This really will not be a draft. Well, it might be draft heavy, but the big news to me, as a Chicago Bulls fan, is Jimmy Butler is gone. Jimmy Butler has been traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn, as well as the seventh pick, which the Bulls used to draft. And as I do production here on the show, live, or when this is recorded, Marcan Lowry, power forward from Arizona, 7 feet. He's really a center, but he's a stretch 4/stretch 5 out of Finland and played for Arizona. This is a deal that the Bulls had on the table last year. The actual players in question last year was Zach LaVine and Ricky Rubio, with Chris Dunn being the draft pick. Chris Dunn was the 5th pick. Jimmy Butler was going to get traded for Rubio. Zach LaVine. No, I don't think it was Rubio. I forgot who the second player was. But I know Rubio was being talked about. I think it was Rubio because Thibodeau didn't like him. And they were also going to get the 5th pick, and they were going to draft Chris Dunn. So Chris Dunn was going to be a Bull last year. Jimmy Butler was going to be gone last year. Gone. Like, this was a deal that they should have made last year. Now, Bulls fans, you weren't going to win anything with Jimmy Butler. You know what NBA hell is? NBA hell, and this is not my idea. This has actually been talked about if you listen to Chicago Sports Radio by Dan Bernstein, 670 The Score host. NBA hell is basically where you're just good enough to where your draft picks don't matter and you're not going to win anything. Like, you're not a championship contender. You may be in the playoffs every year. You may make it past the first round. But you're not good enough to seriously contend for a championship. And that's what the Bulls were. Jimmy Butler is a top 15 player only because he's a third-team All-NBA. And that became important in this deal too. I'll get to that in a second. But Jimmy Butler is one of the most awkward offensive scorers I've ever seen. But it actually will help the Timberwolves if you think about it, and I'll get to that point in a second. But he's very awkward. I've literally seen this dude in the playoffs for 2 seasons, including this one, punk out. We've all seen him punk out. He's supposed to be the closer. He's supposed to be the dude he's supposed to be the main star. You know what Jimmy Butler is? Jimmy Butler is a dude on a bad team that can get numbers. That's what he is. And that makes him a top 15 player because he can defend, and the Eastern Conference is weak, so he's going to score a lot of points, and that makes him a top 15 player because he's third-team All-NBA, and everybody's like, Jimmy Butler's a star. No, he isn't. He's a good player on a bad team that got numbers, and the Bulls are a bad team. And Wade's old, and he's hurt, and he wasn't a closer. They really don't have any other closers but Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler, sometimes, for as good as he thinks he is, he's really not. Because he's real awkward offensively sometimes, and he really doesn't close consistently. Now, for the Timberwolves, because everybody nationally is like the Timberwolves won the trade. Yeah, the Timberwolves did win the trade, and I'm going to tell you why they won. Zach LaVine was coming off of an injury. He's explosive. I love the fact that we're getting him, but he came off of an injury. He's still finding his way. This is kind of his 3rd season or so. He's coming off an injury, but he was having a breakout season. He wasn't their closer. Chris Dunn was underwhelming. I think he had some injury problems, not as bad as LaVine, but he couldn't outplay Ricky Rubio, which is odd because they really like Chris Dunn. Couldn't outplay Rubio, though. the seventh pick, from what I've heard and from what I read about Laurie, that pick was for actually, if you listen to cats locally in Chicago, insiders locally in Chicago, they wanted Isaac Jonathan Isaac. Um, yeah, they wanted Jonathan Isaac. They wanted him, and they couldn't get him. Um, and dude's name is Laurie Markin. Okay, I read that backwards. All right, they wanted Jonathan Isaac, and didn't get him. Orlando got him first. They both players were on the Bulls boards. Isaac was first on the board. Orlando got him first, so they got their second player on the board. They got the dude that they wanted. Laurie could actually shoot long distance, and he can, for what the Bulls do inside, he's athletic enough to run what they want to run. This draft was basically for Fred Hoiberg, to be honest. Jimmy and Wade basically clowned Fred Hoiberg last season, and they clowned him the season before. For 2 seasons, Jimmy Butler clowned Fred Hoiberg and basically checked him twice. And last season's was more public because Rondo put out that Instagram post. This was for Fred. You know, it's not that they didn't, well, I like Jimmy Butler because they did. Because in the closing press conference, this was still Jimmy Butler's team. They were saying Fred needs to grow into a leader, but ultimately they ended up trading Jimmy for the guys that they traded him for. Chris Dunn, he's going into his second year. It was underwhelming. Okay, fine. I would keep Rondo. I would, because Rondo has shown he can tutor young guys, and I think I would keep Rondo, and I would just have Dunn be tutored by Rondo, and there it is. And Levine, I don't know what you're getting with him, but at least he'll still put butts in the seats with his offensive ability and his high flying. But you aren't going to win with Jimmy Butler. The idea that the Bulls gave up a star, yeah, technically they gave up a star. But what does that mean? In a conference where him being the best player got you some good games on TNT nationally, but basically got you into the eighth seed of the Eastern Conference playoffs, where Rondo was the biggest factor because of his defensive ability. Rondo stopped Isaiah Thomas for 2 games. And when Jimmy Butler got an opportunity to do it, he failed. So everybody's talking about the two-way player. He was a two-way player and he's a great defender. And I'm not saying he isn't a great defender, but, which is why Tibbs got him in the first place. But when he had an opportunity to stop a guy in Isaiah Thomas who, although he had an awesome season, is 5'9" and is a backup point guard that got lucky in the fact that Boston really didn't know what they were doing and really didn't have an identity, and he was able to take that team by the reins and lead them to the promised land almost. He couldn't do anything. Let's be real here. Isaiah Thomas was a journeyman point guard, and he was a backup point guard, or he was a dude coming off the bench in the first 2 in Phoenix and Sacramento. And Boston traded for him, and that team had no direction. And Isaiah Thomas came in there and scored, and it was found he can be a leader, and he led that team somewhere. But let's be real. Isaiah Thomas is 5'9", and you couldn't stop a 5'9", for all intents and purposes, scoring point guard. Come on, man. Rondo put him in check for 2 games. He got injured, and the Bulls faltered 4 in a row. I'm sorry. I saw Jimmy Butler lead, and no. Good luck in Minnesota. And quite honestly, it'll help him in Minnesota, even though he's not going to put up the numbers that he'll put up in Chicago. It's going to help Minnesota because Jimmy Butler, although inconsistently as a closer he can be, he can close. If you watch the Timberwolves last year, the problem with the Timberwolves in close games is because they didn't have an offensive identity when it was time for them to close. Wiggins couldn't do it. Levine couldn't do it. They didn't really have a closer. With Butler, offensively, they're going to give the ball to him when they have to get buckets down the stretch. Because they didn't have that last year. It wasn't that the Timberwolves weren't good. It wasn't that they weren't clicking defensively sometimes, because you can see that they were trying, and you can see Tibbs' stuff defensively with the Timberwolves. It was the fact that when it was time for them to close, they really didn't have a go-to guy. Now they have a go-to guy. So it's gonna make it's gonna make Minnesota a playoff contender because now you have a closer now. But they're gonna go to the playoffs. And you're actually gonna see how Jimmy Butler stacks up in the rest of the league when he goes to the Western Conference, because there are people that are really good in the Western Conference that can't sniff all NBA teams and can't sniff all-star teams. So you're going to see what Jimmy Butler can actually do in a better conference. Not in the Eastern Conference and not on a bad team where he's going to put up a bunch of numbers. He might put up some numbers and he might have an effect on this young team because, like I said earlier, he can close. But I watched Jimmy Butler for years, and I'm sorry, you wasn't going to win a title with him. You would have had to bring somebody else. And an old Wade and an old Rondo wasn't going to do it either. You weren't going to beat Boston. You weren't going to beat Boston, and you weren't going to beat Cleveland. And the Cleveland situation, it wasn't that the Cleveland situation wasn't real, but Jimmy wasn't trying to sign there. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jimmy wasn't trying to sign there an extension. He was going to leave. And with Cleveland, it was the same reason they couldn't get Paul George. They need somebody to sign an extension. And there's nobody really on Cleveland, with the exception of one of their young point guards, Kay Felder, that I didn't really like anyway. And Kay Felder is probably going to be a journeyman guard who can score and who can shoot the three, but is that really enough for Jimmy? The Boston situation, here's the thing with the Boston situation too, because I've heard this nationally too. The Boston situation, like during the trade deadline, the Bulls wanted not necessarily assets, but they wanted young players that they can market. Don't get it twisted. The Bulls are still trying to sell tickets, and this is the third largest market in the country, and they also make a lot of money. They're in the top 5 as far as team revenue. So the thing with Boston, because I was listening to First Take on this, the thing with Boston and stuff, and the reason why it seems stupid is because Boston was during the trade deadline, the Bulls passed up on the 2 first-round picks in consecutive years. Well, the thing with the Bulls, and I agree it was stupid because I agree at the time it was stupid because, like, you don't pass up on 2 first-round picks for Jimmy Butler. I've already made my case that Jimmy Butler, you weren't going to win a championship with him, so you don't pass up 2 first-round picks to keep him. But the thing with the Bulls is they wanted, players they could build around and sell tickets around. With this trade with Minnesota, if Zach LaVine stays healthy, you have somebody on the rise. And you have somebody that they actually like in Chris Dunn. I don't really know what you're going to get with him, but you have somebody that you can kind of, not necessarily a proven player, but a guy that they like and a guy that you got some tape on him. And with the 7th pick, you have a guy that can actually run what Fred wants to do. So I like the trade. Do I think it's going to make them better? Define better. it's a that's a you're in a rebuild system now. You're not in a we're gonna trudge along, we're gonna make the playoffs, we're gonna sell tickets, and we're gonna get playoff revenue, but we're gonna get punched in the mouth every year. Like I'm not as a Bulls fan, I would rather watch this and see if Zach LaVine stays healthy and see if Chris Dunn can figure it out. And let's see what Fred can actually do when you don't have a guy like Jimmy and Wade. And don't get it twisted. There's talk of Wade getting bought out. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I don't think D Wade is going to be here in Chicago for a rebuilding system. Like I don't think he's going to do that. I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to buy him out, or the Bulls are going to get somebody else. Which, if the Bulls get somebody like another aging star, then the rebuild, what they're doing by trading Butler, I still like it, but it doesn't make sense if you get another aging star like Carmelo Anthony or something. But if the Bulls are really serious about a rebuild and Zach LaVine is excited enough to still put butts in seats, then if Wade wants to stay here and finish out his year, cool. I just don't see it happening. I see them buying him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see him going to Milwaukee, or because Milwaukee's, close to Chicago, or I see him going to Cleveland or a contender. But if he stays, cool, because he just opted in. If he stays and get that $24 million, I'm not mad at him. If they decide to buy him out, which I hear that's probably going to happen, then I see him going somewhere else. I think Milwaukee would be good because they need a veteran I can't say that word today. Presence, and he can be good coming off the bench as a point guard or starter in spots. Or Cleveland, to maybe you get that off the bench score or sporadic score to help LeBron and Kyrie. I don't know. And then that's a way for them to keep Kevin Love too, because Cleveland, they're willing to trade Kevin Love, but if they can keep him and get someone else, that's cool too. But I like the deal. I actually love the deal. I'm going to. This is a pick for Fred. We're actually going to get to see what Fred's magical offense is going to do. He has a young team, and we'll see what happens, man. But I love the deal. Jimmy Butler wasn't going to take you anywhere, and it's really gonna. If you look at it, if you look at what's gonna happen with the Bulls and you look at what's gonna happen with the Timberwolves, the Timberwolves are gonna be in the playoffs, and it's gonna look really, really dumb to Bulls fans that we gave up Jimmy Butler, because you're gonna watch the T-Wolves and you're gonna see Jimmy Butler close. You're gonna see Jimmy Butler put up 30. And it's going to be easier for him because the offense isn't going to run through him, but it's going to close. But he's going to close, and they're going to get into the playoffs. And he might. I don't know if he's going to make an All-Star team. He might do he might make it to a third NBA selection. Oh, this is the thing too, and with the third team NBA selection, the third, yeah. Jimmy Butler was going to be set to make the Supermax deal, which if he hits, he was going to make the max contract anyway, which they didn't want to pay him. That's number one. Number two, he was set to make the Supermax deal if he stayed with the Bulls, which is why he wanted to stay with the Bulls. Like, the idea that he wanted to go to Cleveland, and then he was like, I want to stay in Chicago. You know why he wanted to stay in Chicago? Because if he hits another third team selection, which makes him quote unquote a top 15 player, then that means you're getting $200 million Supermax. They would have to pay him that. That's kind of like the Derrick Rose thing, where he became the youngest league MVP, and the Bulls had to pay him a boatload of money. They didn't want to do that again. And see, in the East, he's just good enough, and the Bulls are just bad enough with a weak coach in no direction where he's gonna score all the points and he's gonna be that dude and he's gonna get that 200 mil. It would be stupid for you to pay Jimmy Butler $200 million. It would be absolutely stupid for you to do that. I heard that if you get traded, that may not that clause may not trade with you. But that's another reason why the Bulls didn't want him there. It's they didn't want to pay him, and it would be stupid for you to pay him if he's eligible for that $200 million in Minnesota. Let Minnesota deal with it. But nah, I'm good, man. I'm happy he's gone. I don't see him winning the Bulls a title with him being the main guy. With him being on the squad with Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, he may be the piece to get them to the playoffs and might get them to the second round. This is going to be a vlog that people are going to listen to, and people are going to think that I'm nuts because what's going to happen in Minnesota? He's going to do well in Minnesota. They're going to make the playoffs. But I'm telling you, as a Bull, we're not going to win a championship with him. You were going to go to the playoffs every year, and you were going to get punched in the mouth. And if Cleveland wasn't going to do it, because Cleveland was doing it for a while, Cleveland's going to punch you in the mouth in the first and second round for a while. You know who else was constantly punching you in the mouth? This season, especially Milwaukee. Milwaukee was jumping over everybody in Chicago. And they're on the come up. And they keep drafting positionless, lanky, tall people that can defend well. You are not gonna win with Butler as your main guy. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna win with Zach LaVine either, but at least you're giving the keys to Fred finally. Or at least Rondo runs a semblance of what Fred wants to do and keeps the pace. Like I said, Wade is going to get bought out. If Wade stays, it's just because he just wants to be in Chicago because his kids and his mom and his dad is in Chicago now, I think again. So he just wants to stay there. But I think they're going to offer a buyout to him. But yeah, man, that's it. That's my thoughts. National media is stupid on this because it really wasn't about because on paper and in practice, Minnesota won, but it really wasn't about that. Bulls needed to rebuild badly because you weren't going to win a championship with them. And I want to say this too in closing. I've been hearing a lot of I can get into discussions when I go to the barbershop when I'm just out, in the world kicking and stuff. People don't understand, man. Which is why I hope that the Paul George did a trade, or the Lakers are really smart with, if they do trade for Paul George, the Lakers are really smart with this. Here's the thing. You have two teams in each conference that are dominating everybody. Golden State Warriors and Cleveland. And then you have some teams you have some pretenders, and then you have some teams that are on the come up. Milwaukee Bucks are on the come up. You don't see Milwaukee Bucks doing a lot of stupid stuff. You see Milwaukee Bucks having a style. You see Milwaukee Bucks building that style. Philly is trying to do the same thing. Philly is getting a lot of athletic people. That Markelle Fultz thing is going to be a problem. So that Philly thing is they got a bunch of young dudes, and we're going to see what happens in Philly. Okay? You trying to just get talent and just get all-stars for the sake of all-stars. I said it when Butler, Wade, and Rondo got together last year. Is this going to help you beat Cleveland? No. If you can't beat Cleveland, if you don't have enough firepower to beat Cleveland in the East, if you don't have enough firepower to beat Golden State in the West, which is why I hope that if you're going to trade for Paul George, if you're the Lakers, you be really smart with the assets that you give away. Because Paul George independently on a Laker team, it's not going to get you anywhere. And you gotta hope that LeBron James A leaves Cleveland and B signs as a Laker. And there's no guarantee that that's gonna get you to the Western Conference Finals to beat Golden State. It might, but you don't know. People need to be really, really smart in what they do here. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to build a team and if you're gonna, restructure or structure around your team, do it this way. Either you're gonna seriously go at Golden State or you're seriously gonna go at Cleveland, which is why the Jimmy Butler thing to Boston was real, and which is why the Paul George thing to Boston was real and makes sense. Um, Jimmy Butler to Boston makes Boston a real Eastern Conference contender because you have a second option. Paul George to Boston, which is still working. Paul George to Boston, it will actually make Boston a championship contender. A championship contender, which means you can probably beat Cleveland. If you ain't trying to beat Cleveland, tear everything down and rebuild again, and maybe you're competitive enough when LeBron A leaves or B gets old enough to where he's not the best player in the world to where you can actually beat him. And if do it that way, but to just I don't know, nationally it was just dumb. What I heard a little bit nationally, and I really didn't. I really wanted to just I couldn't really get on here, Thursday night, and I couldn't get on Friday night, for various reasons. So I'm able to do this Saturday morning. From what I did hear nationally was dumb. It just no. Jimmy Butler is a star. I get you, but he's a very difficult star offensively to watch, and you weren't gonna win with him. So I like what the Bulls do, not necessarily for the talent that they got. Although I do think Zach LaVine, if he stays healthy, is a good player. I just don't know if he can close. But what the Bulls did is smart because you're not necessarily you're a bad team now, but you're not necessarily in NBA hell, meaning you're not good enough to just make the playoffs or to try to make the playoffs, and it doesn't matter. You can actually build your team now and find somebody and build something, kind of cool. What's happening in Milwaukee is cool. What's about to happen in Philly is cool. Honestly, what's happening with the Lakers, what happened last year with the Lakers, I watched a little bit of them. They were bad, but they were young and they were interesting. You know what I'm saying? Be young and interesting. Don't be old and stupid and painful to watch. And that's what the Bulls were last year. I watched them. I watched a lot of their stuff online, being in Dallas. I watched most of their games, and as a Bulls fan, it was painful to watch, and it was frustrating. I went on here, and there were times where I lost my mind watching this team. It's going to be frustrating watching them, but at least this is going to be fun to see. You know what I'm saying? And I think, when I talk to cats, I'm going to go to get my hair cut today. I'm going to get in the barbershop, and people are going to be like, what the Bulls did was stupid. No, it wasn't, because you weren't going to do anything with him. So, anyway, I'm done. I'm rambling now. Anyway, pushing Bob Black out. A couple things that I want to state about the draft real quick. I already mentioned Markelle Fultz. Lonzo Ball is going to be good for the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? He's basically Sixers point guard, long. If they... I don't know. I like what the Lakers are doing, even though Magic is dead set on getting a star. I don't think that's necessary. And I'm really interested, and I'm sad I might not be able to see a lot of the Mavericks, but live. But that's something that I'm gonna bring up later in other vlogs. But yeah, the what they did with number 9, I like what they did with number 9. with them getting. Let me move down because I can't think of that guy's name, that kid's name right now. Okay, and they're only giving me. I'm on NBA.com right now, and they're only giving me the top 7 right now. Let me move. Yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. Okay, with Dennis Smith Jr., I like what the Mavericks did because with Dennis Smith Jr., you have athleticism that they didn't have. They're they have point guards on that team, but Rick Carlisle likes to play 2 point guard and sometimes 3 point guard sets. And Dennis Smith can jump out the gym, man. So, and this is the first time they've really had an explosive player like that they drafted. So if he stays healthy and he works, which I think he can, the Mavs just that's a very good pick that I like. So I'm very interested to see what the Mavericks do. Very interested to see what Philly becomes, and I'm very interested to see uh, Laurie, and I want to see how he fits in the offense. So that's it, y'all. Push Wild Black out. I'll holler at y'all later. This will probably be up tomorrow morning because I have other things to do. But yeah, man, I'm happy that the Bulls made this trade, and I'm glad that Jimmy Butler is finally gone. Should have happened last year, but hey, what are you gonna do? Anyway, Push Wild Black out. Later.